In 1922, a man chipped a tiny hole in a sealed door that had been shut for 3,000 years. He held up a candle, peered into the dark, and whispered that he could see wonderful things. Behind that door lay the greatest treasure ever found, and some say a curse that would hunt down everyone who disturbed it. I'm Professor Atticus Stone. Let's open the tomb of Tutankhamun. Welcome to Brick History, where the biggest moments of the past get rebuilt one brick at a time. Today we're heading to Egypt, 1922, to a scorching valley where kings were buried in secret. Two men, a stubborn archaeologist and a very rich, very impatient lord, were about to make the most famous discovery in history and accidentally launch the world's spookiest conspiracy theory. First, the king himself. Tutankhamun became pharaoh around the age of 9, a child running the most powerful kingdom on earth. By the time he died, probably around 18, he'd barely left a mark. Later, pharaohs literally tried to erase him, chiseling his name off the walls. His little tomb was buried, forgotten, and then, by sheer luck, protected when rubble from a grander tomb above buried its entrance for 3,000 years. And here's the irony that makes archaeologists laugh. Because Tut was so forgotten, the tomb robbers who emptied almost every other royal grave never bothered with his. The least important pharaoh ended up with the only treasure left to find. Enter Howard Carter, brilliant, grumpy, and absolutely obsessed. For years, he and his wealthy backer, Lord Carnarvon, dug up the Valley of the Kings and found basically nothing, season after season, holes everywhere. Carnarvon, who was footing the bill, was running out of patience and money and finally said, "This is the last season." So, in November 1922, with the clock ticking, Carter's team started digging right where some old workmen's huts stood, a spot everyone else had ignored for a century. And a young water boy, clearing sand for the diggers, bumped into something hard, a step carved into the rock. They dug, and the step became a staircase. The staircase ended at a sealed door, stamped with ancient royal seals, unbroken. Carter sent a telegram to Carnarvon. "Come at once. Incredible discovery." He waited 3 agonizing weeks for the Lord to sail in from England. Then, hands shaking, he chipped a small hole in the corner and held up a candle. Carnarvon behind him asked, "Can you see anything?" And Carter answered with the most famous words in archaeology, "Yes, wonderful things." The room beyond was crammed, floor to ceiling, with 3,000 years of gold, chariots, thrones, statues, jewelry, over 5,000 objects. Nobody had ever seen anything like it. Nobody has since. It took Carter 10 years just to catalog it all. Deep in the tomb, inside a burial chamber, sat a nest of golden shrines, boxed one inside another like cosmic Russian dolls. Inside those 3 coffins, the final one made of solid gold. And inside that, the mummy of the boy king himself, his face covered by the object that would become the symbol of all Egypt, a mask of solid gold, blue glass and precious stones, staring back across 3,000 years. It is, hands down, the most beautiful object the ancient world ever left us. But by the time the world fell in love with that golden face, the newspapers had found a much darker story to tell. Just a few months after the tomb was opened, Lord Carnarvon nicked a mosquito bite while shaving. The cut got infected, and he died. And the world lost its mind. Because at the exact moment he died, the story goes, all the lights in Cairo mysteriously went out, and back in England, his dog howled once and dropped dead. The newspapers exploded. The pharaoh had cursed everyone who disturbed his rest. Reporters claimed a warning was carved over the door. Death shall come on swift wings to whoever disturbs the king. Every time anyone connected to the tomb so much as stubbed a toe, it made headlines. The curse of the Pharaohs was born, and people are still scared of it today. So, was it real? Here's where the archaeologist ruins the ghost story. Start with the obvious. Howard Carter, the man who actually opened the tomb, who was there for everything, lived another 17 years and died peacefully in bed. Some curse. A scientist later went through everyone present at the opening and found they lived just as long as anyone else. The warning over the door never existed. A reporter made it up. What probably did make a few people ill is real, though. Sealed tombs can grow nasty molds and bacteria over thousands of years, and breathing that in is genuinely bad for you. So the lesson isn't beware ancient magic. It's maybe wear a mask when you open a 3,000-year-old room. The real curse was poor ventilation. Here's the twist, though. The curse was nonsense, but it made Tutankhamun immortal. A forgotten boy king nobody cared about became the most famous pharaoh who ever lived, all because of a spooky story the newspapers couldn't resist. Sometimes the legend is more powerful than the truth. If you enjoyed digging up this one, hit subscribe. Next time on Brick History, we're boarding a practically unsinkable ship for its very first voyage. I'm Professor Atticus Stone. Try not to disturb anything on your way out.